Hello to everyone who is listening to us right now. I'm here with Mr. Rose, as I call him. He's Jerome Rose. I think he may not need any introduction. Those who don't know him should know him already. But anyway, we'll let him speak about himself a little bit in a few seconds. First of all, I'm so excited to be here speaking with you on this third episode of the soundtrack of piano. It is a very, very valuable name personally for me, the name of this podcast, because I think it gives everyone who is listening to us valuable information of what happens behind the world of just appearing in front of an audience and playing for them. What does it take to do that? What is the experience that we get? And something that might be very valuable for everyone is why on earth do we do it? And I hope to capture some of that information from one of the greatest masters from that belongs to the past, to tradition. You know, what I like to call the art of piano playing that has been lost, you know, and I hope that I am the right person to take that knowledge from him,
Well, obviously it has not been lost because you have taken that knowledge.
Well, I hope that's for him to that's for him to accept.
The whole purpose of us talking is that we are preserving the knowledge that I have been given through the generations, and have imparted whatever I can to you, which you have absorbed beautifully, and you will go on, expand upon that, and you are a brilliant teacher, and the next generation will also benefit from the art of the piano, which is really one of the greatest traditions in musical history. And for that reason, it is wonderful to talk to you about this, and it's wonderful for me to regard you as one of my cherished students and one of the disciples of whatever I represent or have represented, you know, past, present, and future. So all of this is very important that we talk about the tradition of great piano playing, because I feel like I'm a product of the marvelous teaching that I've had and all the listening library of hearing all the great pianists. And you yourself are a student of the art of the piano, both the contemporary, and I know for a fact that you've listened to all the great recordings of the great artists of the past, which is also essential to understand where piano playing has come from, where it is now, and where it could be going. So tradition is it's very valuable. I call it a hereditary art form. It goes from master to the apprentice, to the master, the apprentice, master, and that is how it works, and it has always worked that way. And if you look at the tradition of all the wonderful great pianists, they are part of the great panoply and world of the great piano. You know, it is a world art form, and it's even more so today because no one ever thought that Asia, and all those countries that encompass Asia, would be at the forefront of the world of the piano. No one ever believed that, and certainly not in Mozart and Beethoven's or Chopin's time did they think the center of the world of piano playing would be focused in Asia. This is something unbelievable, and it's true. And these countries love the piano, and they're keeping the tradition alive, and they want to learn. They're so anxious to learn all of these great traditions, and we're happy to become part of this world.
And certainly some people who may be listening want to actually learn something from us today. And I love a sentence that someone very different from our tradition and our perspective on music said just 2 episodes ago. The first pianist to appear in this podcast, Hayato Sumino, he said that one of the most valuable things that valuable lessons or valuable phrases that he actually takes as his life motto is standing on the shoulders of giants. That's what he said. It's very interesting that it came from him, being so unique, so much looking forward on improvisation, on jazz, mixing so many different elements on different styles of music.
Even civilization in all of its advancement in itself is standing on the shoulders of the giants.
We cannot go forward
and
without.
we cannot go. We cannot go forward with those that even Franz Liszt said he threw his lance into the future, and everyone else followed. And this is very much what the world is, and certainly, God knows, in my age, going on 86 years of age, I've seen the advancement of so many young people actually carrying on this great tradition, and learning and wanting it, and the love of music, and this is so profound, and it's real. And you wanted to ask me, how did I become a pianist? Well, that's a very funny story. It's not very funny. It's something that is very part. My mother loved music. She absolutely adored the piano. And before I was born, I call it prenatal destination. I was predestined to be a pianist. She absolutely made every effort. And at 3.5 years of age, I was taught how to read music, how to express music, I was walking along. There was on the floor, all the notes were on the floor, and I had to walk the rhythms. I had to walk the half notes, the whole notes, the 16th notes, and I had to sing the pitches. I had to play, and this is one of the great things, and God knows, I love the world of the dance. I love the world of song. And these are things that every musician needs to know.
And I think every pianist worth mentioning or worth talking to has that feeling of determination in their life. Like, we have been somehow determined to become a pianist. We feel that on our shoulders. We feel that it's our duty, in a sense, to become pianists, to change the world in a way.
You cannot explain. You just recently played in Jelazolovola,
yes,
in the basically the farmhouse of Frédéric Chopin. No one can explain where musical genius comes from. There is absolutely no rational reason to explain Chopin other than the fact somehow what God entered the womb of this woman before giving birth and created this magnificent artist. But as you know, great talent and great originality is also a curse, because that means there is a profound sensitivity. And you get someone like Chopin, the profound sensitivity, he could not do anything less than his best. He worked his compositions over and over and over again. And this is where the genius of this man is being expressed, But it's also a curse, because he can't look to the right, he can't look to the left. He's constantly tortured by making it better and better and better. And but God bless him for doing so.
Absolutely. And speaking about one of probably the best pianists in the history of music, who is Chopin, we don't know how he sounded like, but we can know through the lens of his music, we kind of guess how he sounded.
One of the things I often say to my students when they sit down and play Bach, I said, all right, which pianist was the greatest performer of Bach? Of course, they don't know that. But the greatest performer of Bach was Frédéric Chopin.
Absolutely.
So then I said, all right, think of the poetic phrases of Chopin. Think of the sound of Chopin. Think of the beauty of Chopin. Now apply this to Bach.
Yeah.
And then somehow it's transformative if they understand the singing lines, the beauty of the counterpoint. Even though it was written for the harpsichord, you cannot tell me he wasn't singing these lines to himself, even though he was playing it on this very limited instrument, because he would have loved to have composed for the piano, I'm sure, Bach. But basically, the beauty of the music itself, which is so often lost when people play Bach. They don't understand. Yes. It's some of the most glorious, beautiful writing in the world.
Absolutely. And speaking of piano, Mr. Rose, I want to ask you a question, because after 8 decades being close to the instrument of the piano, I don't know what kind of relationship have you created with the actual instrument. I know.
Well, I call it the three-legged monster.
Okay, so you went that way. So many
or
people.
the black Mariah, whatever you call it. I mean, look. as you know, and as every pianist know, it is the most masochistic art form in the world.
Yeah.
You're never happy. It's never right. It's never good enough. You always want to go back and correct this, all right? And they say, well, they say that with pianists, you know, we don't have a problem with intonation. Well, you know, getting from that note to that note is a matter of intonation, because if you miss the note, you're missing it, you're right? And even a violinist on the, you know, on the fingerboard.
Two
it's
notes.
the same thing,
It's the
or
same
connecting
thing, yeah.
two notes. And besides that, I often say, you know, there is no Hammerklavier sonata for the violin or the cello.
No.
You know, there's no, they're not 32 sonatas that they have to learn, or the Prokofiev sonatas. They have a very limited the cello repertoire, you know, 5 Beethoven sonatas and a couple of concerti, and you're a great cellist. We haven't even begun with that. We haven't even begun with that repertoire. So you know the demands of what it is to be a pianist.
So, Mr. Rose, do you go on the hatred side or the love side? Which one do you choose?
Look, every performer, yourself and every other pianist, life depends on how well you're playing that day.
Yeah.
Okay? You get up in the morning, you brush your teeth, you have your breakfast, and then you have to face yourself. You have to face the music. You have to face the piano.
Yeah, you have to face yourself. That's a very good sentence.
No, you have to. No.
Not the piano, but yourself.
No, you have to face yourself, you know. If you're a real artist, you can't lie to yourself.
Exactly.
There's no deception, you know. There's no deception in the world of art.
No.
If you're really that level of artist, because you can't lie to yourself.
You can lie to others, but you cannot lie to yourself. That's the worst.
That's true. That's true. But I mean, it's the artist's life. There's nothing. The pianist world is no different from any other artist's life.
That I do agree. Yes.
So it's the artist's life, and I was talking about it the other night. We had a family over here, a crowd, and I said, you know, what constitutes a great pianist? I said, a great pianist strives for the great transcendental moments in music. The really great pianist achieves it.
Yeah.
So
I have nothing to add to what he said.
Okay.
That's my belief.
all right. So it's a blessing and a curse. Art, you know, real talent is a blessing, and everyone knows this who's involved with the arts. It's a blessing and a curse, because you have to meet your destiny. You have to do this, or it eats you up. It becomes, and many artists destroy themselves because they have not met their destiny. Either circumstances, or somehow it has left them. Their muse has left them. They are no longer being creative, and they cannot stand not being creative. It's a difficult life. It's a difficult life.
It is.
And you need to balance that with a very good and very positive personal life. Because if it's only the art, nothing will feed. You need something feeding your soul, which is so important, and that is the personal life. Obviously, you have married a absolutely lovely woman that feeds your soul. She understands you, she loves you, and your soul is being fed, even when you sit down and have sushi together.
That's true. We do feed from things outside of art. If it's only art, if it's only ourselves, it's just torment from morning to evening. That's not lovely. So, speaking also about piano, Mr. Rose, I have many strong ideas about what a piano is. I can tell you that it doesn't go on the mechanical side, or it doesn't go so much as how the piano responds to you, but on how the piano sings when you are actually playing it. What is a good piano, Mr. Rose?
What is a good? Let me explain what I often a symbolism that I try to create. I said, you know, think of it as a cello. The cellist wraps his or her arms around the instrument, and that instrument becomes the voice. And if you love great string playing, these people sing on their instrument. They sing on their instrument. Imagine that you wrap your hands around the piano and that you are singing with this instrument. This is absolutely essential, that the piano is your voice. This is how you sing, this is how you speak, this is how you represent yourself to the world. And you have to think of yourself. The pianist is the only instrumentalist in the world where nobody talks about the glory of their sound, the glorious sound. Singers, they talk the first words out of the critic's mouth. What a sound! What a sound! If you talk to wind players, the one thing that is the most cherished thing is their sound, their sound. So pianists also have to understand with the 88 strings or the 88 keys, they have to voice the piano, which is their sound. They have to understand the world of sound. And that's something that they have to learn, and it is their voice. And the hardest thing on the piano, because they are individual tones, hammer striking a string, is to create the magnificent illusion of the human voice. But unless you understand that that is what you are supposed to do, and all the great composers understood this, you do not actually achieve what great piano playing is all about.
And
because it is a vocal instrument played properly.
And what do you think a good piano on the instrument side is? What is a good piano that can actually help you to achieve that? What are the traits that a good piano has?
All of that. The overtones, the pedal, the size of the instrument, the age of the instrument, the quality of the hammers, the construction of the instrument. And basically, a piano is only as good as the last person, the last technician who's worked on it. It is only as good as the last technician who's worked on it. Because a piano that's out of, let's say, the hammers are not good. It's out of action. The action is worked now. A magnificent technician can improve that instrument immediately, within hours, if they know what they're doing. So basically, as I say, I often say, if you were playing on a beat-up upright, you still have to bring your sound to that instrument. You have to get out of that instrument your sound, the maximum of what you are able to hear, and so on. So that you bring your sound to any instrument that you play, and you understand that.
You can play beautifully anywhere, actually.
You know what those tones should sound like, and you try your best, no matter what the shape of the instrument is, to bring your sound to that instrument.
Completely in agreement, actually. I see so many pianists nowadays complaining maybe about the state of pianos. I do agree. In many concert halls that we visit, Mr. Rose knows about this, we find beaten up pianos. We find pianos that have not been very well taken care of. But our job is to make that piano ours, to bring ourselves out of that piano.
I was thinking you wanted some humorous anecdote.
Yes.
If you really want to know what agony is, I was in Romania on a concert tour, and there were several places, Arad and Cluj and other places I was playing in Romania, but there was some mountain place that we were going to go up with the orchestra. There was the Bucharest Philharmonic, so we were in the buses, we're going up there, and what is the piano? What was the piano? Chopin E minor concerto.
Okay.
The pedals didn't work. There was no pedal. So I had a choice of playing the E minor concerto with no pedal or canceling the concert. So what did I do? I played the concerto with no pedal from beginning to end. So try to bring your sound no pedal.
My Lord, Mr. Rose, that must be one of the worst nightmares, to play Chopin without a pedal. Or Rachmaninoff. Those two composers cannot live without pedal.
Well, I don't think it went down in pianistic history, my achievement, but I but I did play the whole entire concerto without pedal.
My God, playing the second movement without pedal.
You do, as you know.
Yeah.
You do what you have to do.
Yeah, that's our life.
And that's when you encounter an orchestra that you don't like, or a conductor that you don't like, or a concert hall that you don't like, or whatever. A piano that you don't like, your job is to make music. It's the same as any other profession. Your job is to do your job, and that's so important. You have to have that attitude. Your audience is there. They've come. They've supported you. They deserve whatever you can give them.
Yeah, even if the pedals don't work.
Even if the pedals don't work.
Actually, yes.
Yes. Another wonderful story. I had a concert tour of Alaska. So they didn't have a grand piano, but they had an upright piano. So what they did is they built a grand piano extension onto, onto the upright, so that it looked like a grand piano.
Visually a grand piano, physically an upright. What a marvelous sound.
So you ask for humorous. This is what you do. This is what you do in life, you know.
That soundboard must have been
But you know, you
vibrating.
look, every pianist knows he's an entertainer. He is a troubadour. He's coming there. He's being engaged. He's there to give pleasure to people that come who want to hear music. The other thing about in Alaska, I think it was like, 50 to 60% of the town showed up because it was a real occasion. I said it's like 5 million people coming to your concert in New York City.
Yeah.
You know, and you want that. You know, this is
The sense of occasion.
The sense of occasion, yes.
My God.
Yes, and I think it's a wonderful thing, and these people were so appreciative
Yes.
of the music that you were giving, and so appreciative of the fact that you were there, and that's our job.
It is. Now, Mr. Rose, why do you think that we keep playing the same music over and over that has been composed in the past 200 years?
That's easy to answer.
I mean, it is a strange moment in history.
We haven't played it well enough. It's very simple. It's very simple.
But Mr. Rose, why are we not playing music from Greek times? We do have some information, not much, but this never happened in the history of humankind. We keep playing the same music from the same period of time. Baroque, we keep music from classical period, romantics,
yes.
post-romantics, a few of those neoclassic composers, very few. That's part of the usual repertoire.
But the piano and the repertoire simultaneously, they are the one and the same thing. They are the same thing. Why do we create period comedies? Why do we have historical dramas? Because it teaches us who we are. Certainly, playing the music of pre-Bach, you know, William Byrd or Handel, whatever, teaches us, or Couperin for that, as you know, it teaches us who we are and the wonderful things that have been created. We are basically, as pianists, we are recreative artists. The music is our script. We are playing. I have to tell students, I said, what you don't understand, you are a solo actor on the stage, and your script is the music. You are there to tell the story of the music. The music tells the story, and you are there interpreting all the characters that are in that story. And as a single pianist, you have to understand that responsibility. It's a fantastic, and the power of that experience. I often talk about, if you are really, in your particular case, a pianist, you're playing for 1,000, 2,000 people. I said, do you realize that you are a single person responsible for thousands of hours of human life?
Mm-hmm.
To think about it, 2,000 hours of human life, or even possibly 4,000 hours of, you are responsible. What a magnificent responsibility if you can do something important.
Actually, I don't know, Mr. Rose, if you told me this before, or maybe you didn't, but if you did, it did stay in my subconscious. Every time I get asked about this in an interview somewhere, I always say the same thing. I do have in my hands, for whatever the duration of my recital will be, so many hours of human life in front of me. And my job is, I don't know, give them something transcendent to think about, or some change.
Well, remember what
on their lives.
Remember what I said? A great pianist strives for the transcendental moments.
Yeah.
The greater pianist achieves
them. Indeed.
So, and you just said, to give them something transcendental, something to remember. And basically, that's absolutely right. If you don't strive for that, you will never achieve it. But you have to understand what it takes to do that.
Yep.
And it's a lifetime of your lifetime, of my lifetime, to try to create the great moments. Because in some way, it justifies our own life. We have, in a sense, touched the divine. We've touched the eternal force of what great art is. And we have lived in a different world, even if it's only for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what artists have always wanted that. They want to go something, it is surreal. It is not this reality.
Yep.
It is a higher reality. And all artists wanted to achieve that in some form of art. This is what art is all about. In a way, it justifies human existence because it goes beyond just eating, sleeping, defecating, procreating, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
It makes life worth living.
Yes. Actually, my question about the repertoire, you did respond in a way that I didn't expect. And I'm going to poke you, Mr. Rose, on something else, which is...
I expect you to be the provocative personality that you have always been.
He might be right. I want to ask you about, in particular, I read not so long ago, actually, there was a lot of data being put together in a computer, and it came out of that data that Chopin was one of the most single played composers in the entire world for so many years as solist, I mean. The single most solistic composer being played in an entire year. And that was also a very interesting fact for me, because I do agree that Chopin...
I'm not shocked at all.
But why do we keep going back to him?
No.
Why?
There is only one composer in the world of the classical world who, from the moment he wrote the music, following his death, his popularity has increased exponentially year after year after year after year after year. The music is so infectious and so wonderful to hear and so wonderful to play. And it was that way in his lifetime as well. Because you hear a phrase, you say, that's Chopin. And people they just basically love this music. It is so accessible to the non-sophisticate, the non-concert goer. They love hearing Chopin. They don't even have to go to concerts. They have no real knowledge of music. But there's something in this music they understand immediately. This is exquisitely beautiful. And it's excellent music. Even if it's the most popular, it is something that scholars can still study and learn from, because he was such an exceptional musician, such an exceptional composer. But no, there is not Mozart, not even Beethoven, not Brahms, and even Chopin singularly is the most popular composer in the world, because he's the most accessible.
And do you think it says something about who we are nowadays, that we have a tendency, also me as a pianist, I have a natural tendency for the late classic and early romantic music, including Brahms. He came a bit later, but I still consider him a great classic. What does it say something about ourselves that we, also audiences around the world, prefer that music from that specific period, 70 years of human life, 70 years in the history of music? That's the most beloved repertoire of all.
But don't forget that these men that you mentioned were very, very much tuned into what popular music was at that time. When you're writing mazurkas, you're writing polonaises, you're writing nocturnes, or Brahms writing Hungarian dances, Liszt writing Hungarian rhapsodies, Schubert writing Ländler. waltzes. They knew what the popular culture was, and they didn't turn their noses on the popular culture. They loved their music being written, or the manuscripts being written. Diabelli was one of the publishers, etc. They loved selling their music. And it was popular. You know, even they talk about Verdi, that all the people in the town knew the melodies of the Verdi operas.
Yeah.
You know? So it wasn't something removed from society. It was the society.
But why the society from nowadays keeps going back there? Because I don't know if that is in tune with the popular music of nowadays, but still.
Well, I have a bone of contention about what popular music today is.
Well, yeah.
I grew up.
Have several bones.
I grew up with popular music when you had Sinatra, you had Dinah Shore, you had the big bands, you had Benny Goodman, you had that was the popular Harry James. You had these were real musicians, or you get what's his name. Stefan Grappelli and Jenko, the guitarist. I mean, these were real musicians. Or you even get the self-trained Hungarian gypsies, you know, that they didn't have to go to conservatory to know what great music making was. I mean, I don't follow the popular music. I like the people who actually know what music is. They know harmony, they know counterpoint, they know what sound is, they know what it is to sing. And they were real musicians, and that's why as I say, I'm very old-fashioned in that sense. I love the great pop singers. I love to hear great singing done by a great popular artist. I mean, if you have somebody, I mean, I grew up here in Dinah Shore, and God, there's so many wonderful, wonderful singers of that era. Beautiful, beautiful vocalists. Barbara Streisand was one of the great popular
Ella Fitzgerald, please.
You know, I mean, this was, and what happened, what I have discovered, unfortunately, in China, in Japan, but not Korea has the church, and there's a lot of singing in the church.
That's true.
But in China, they have no idea what it is to sing, or sing the melodies that we regard in the Western culture of opera or popular music. Because the Chinese opera does not really use the human voice in the same way that Western music does. It's quite different. And the staccato language of the Japanese does not lend itself to beautiful singing either. The language itself is not that musical or flowing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's very difficult. So you have to be musical to actually capture this.
Yeah, many people. I go on Mr. Rose's line in this way. Many people ask me in my daily endeavors. People ask me, what the kind of music do you like? And I know they really do expect me to say, maybe I just like pop music, or maybe I just like jazz. They expect an abstract word that I don't know what it means.
You come from one of the great musical traditions. My God, flamenco.
Yeah.
My God, I mean the dancing and the music of, and how Scarlatti incorporated the guitar into his sonatas, you know, and the beautiful.
My God, that's wonderful. Yeah.
I mean, you come from one of the greatest musical cultures of all time.
So my point is actually that all of that included, my only response to that question is, I like good music. I don't care the style.
That's right. Yes.
Like,
Right.
there is not so great music also from the 18th century.
I mean, don't forget where you come from. That music expresses the entire history of your culture.
Oh yes.
I mean, it's dynamic, it's passionate, it's real, and when these people sing, the people listen. There's a tremendous, you know, Spanish.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's actually
It's
brutal
yes.
in many ways.
In many ways. I mean, but you heard this growing up. This was part of your being incorporated, coming from the Asturias and so on.
Mm-hmm.
This was incorporated into your development as Chopin heard all the mazurkas, heard all the popular music growing up. This was incorporated. This is why he's every man. This is why the music is so magnificent, because it appeals to everyone, because of it was taken from the popular idioms as well. It's very sophisticated as well, we understand that. But he understood what it meant to write a mazurka that everybody understood, the most beautiful music in the world. And I'm not against popularity. I'm not against, I don't think just because
Absolutely.
it's popular, it isn't any good. I
Yeah.
don't think that's true at all.
Chopin was the popular music back then, as what we might consider today. I
Well,
don't know who. I don't want to say names,
Yes.
but
Well,
but yeah.
the spillover is the great popular pianists. You know, were they profound? Were they real, or were they just charlatans who just appealed to an audience? And if you go back and you listen to Horowitz, you listen to Rubinstein, you listen to Ignaz Friedman, you listen to Schnabel, and no, there was something there. They were popular, they were regaled, but there was something there because they understood what it was to put a piece of music together and let's excuse the expression and sell it. They knew how to sell the music. They knew how to tell the story. Yes.
Yeah, you have to give it to the public. That is, in a way, selling it. Yeah, there
Yeah.
is, that's a good word, in a way.
Yeah.
If so, Mr. Rose, is there some music which is more profound or transcendental than other music? And if so, where do you think that the jazz stands? Because I hold, jazz very highly.
I mean, the two giants of the piano, of course, were Art Tate and Oscar Peterson, and then of course what was I forget there's several other ones as well.
Yeah, Bill
But,
Evans, I don't know, there are
you
plenty of them.
yeah,
Count Basie.
but
Plenty.
no, I think these were serious musicians.
Of course.
When they played, they expected people to hear this. They didn't create background music. Their music was very profound, and I think that I love hearing it. I love hearing it. You know?
This question is just for people to understand that stupid notion, pardon my English, but really stupid notion that classical musicians, what we consider nowadays classical musicians, as pianists playing Bach, Chopin, and Rachmaninoff, we are elitist people. No, we just like good music. And I haven't discovered any single musician that is worth speaking with that hasn't told me the same thing.
Okay.
It's actually wonderful to see. Okay, Mr. Ross, how do you see the role of classical music, the music from that period? What is the role that is playing in nowadays world? Because there is also new music being produced permanently.
Well, you know, music has to envelop you. It has to attract you. The art of listening over a period of time requires that there is something that you're bringing also to what is taking place. So it is a communication to the world of sound, and the sound has to have a profound meaning. There has to be a reason why you're listening. So something has to be expressed that you want to hear, or you're willing to hear, or even if it's difficult, you are fascinated in hearing it. So basically, if you say the great classics were written not for their time. The great classics were written for all eternity. God knows what it will be in 50 years or 100 years and so on. But with the popularity of the piano, I really don't think in 50 years the instrument is going to be replaced.
I don't think so either.
I think there's going to be the cult of the piano will continue. Now they have tried electronic music and all the electronic composers, all electronic this, but one of the things I feel very strongly is the farther away you get from the human voice in terms of the creation of music, the farther away you get from the human voice, the less human the music is. That is what I profoundly believe. I believe there has to be a human component in order to continue the attraction of people wanting to listen to it. In the end, some degree of the public has to support whatever that music may be. If it's a Broadway show, if it's a contemporary piece of music that is being played by the New York Philharmonic, unless there is something that attractive in it, it will die. Because no one will want to hear it.
Those sort of dogmatic words remind me of what Hayao Miyazaki, you know, he might not know who he is, but very important in the making of very, very famous anime movies in Japan from Studio Ghibli. And well, he's actually very much against making any animation movies that have not been drawn by an actual human being. He completely despises the idea of having those drawings being made by a computer or being produced by an artificial intelligence, just because of a belief, not because the result might be, I don't know, more or less interesting, but because he believes that the movie itself has to have the human component to be meaningful.
Well, you and I know, and it's already been done, that AI can probably play any piece of music in the world.
Yeah. How, I don't know, but yeah.
You know, all right?
They can go to the last note from the beginning to the end.
And not only that, they can do it perfectly.
Yeah.
They can do it perfectly. But, you know, no one knows the future, and I suppose no one needs to know the future. And I unfortunately, I'm very much in love with the past, and I'm very much in love with the tradition of what great piano playing is and great piano music is. And this is where if I need to live in a museum, I would like it to be the most beautiful museum that I can create.
Mr. Rose, have you watched Midnight in Paris by Woody Allen?
Of course, yes.
You know, I think we suffer from the same sickness, which is we'd rather be in the past than be in the present or in the future.
Well, you know,
I certainly do.
I'm an amateur student of history, and I really feel that the world suffered to such a degree in 1914, where there was a belief in the advancement of civilization and society. The world was becoming a better place, more human, more productive, fewer. The world was not torn apart by war, and that's the whole illusion got destroyed. Plus the millions and millions of creative people that were destroyed, not to mention the Holocaust of the Russian Revolution, the catastrophe of the Second World War. And, you know, we need to believe in that our life's work makes a difference. It's very important. It may be illusionary, but certainly people of consequence, people of will, people of imagination, people of purpose want to know that life that is now being extended to 90 years of age or longer somehow was worth living. And I think that's extremely important. I think it's important for civilization that this is somehow imbued in young people. I said one of the things of the Romantic period, two things that young men, in this case young women, said, they would ask themselves, what is my destiny? And the second thing they would ask themselves, what is my life's work? And this is very important, that this romantic illusion or perception not be destroyed. I think young men and young women have to think about their destiny and their life's work. I think that's very important today.
You know, I don't have much to say to that. Once more, I am in full agreement. You sound like my professor, Mr. Rose. You might be.
One of the beauties of Martin Garcia, it isn't that he learns from me, or did learn from me, is that he learns from everyone. And he's curious, and he's fascinated by life, and he's fascinated by his history, and he's fascinated by all the world around him. And therefore, as a great artist, he will continue to grow, and I'm very happy that the infection of art and future is in you.
Yeah, I would say that my time with Mr. Rose as his student was, you did infect me in a way. That was that was
Good.
that was a good life lesson,
Good.
a weekly life lesson.
Good.
Mr. Rose, I go around the world. I see some wonderful places, wonderful towns, wonderful concert halls, wonderful audiences, but I see some places in the world suffering. How to say? There is a disbelief about classical music, or about recitals, or about orchestral concerts. I see, for example, I was not so long ago in Milano, in Serate Musicale, which is one of the probably most important piano series in the whole of Italy. How many decades have they been going? They have some of the best pianists in the world coming every single year. And I was completely shocked once I went to listen to a concert, and it was completely empty. And empty means 1/3 of the hall was filled, 1/4. It was actually quite shocking. And there are places like this, particularly in the south of Europe, but I see that also in many places in America, in which the classical music has stopped being a part of everyone's life.
I think it is. I think it. Forgive me, but this is my own opinion. Obviously, I think it goes beyond just classical music.
Yeah.
I think there is a pervasive anxiety that certainly is in the United States of America, where the ability or the willingness to open yourself to real sensitivities that very great music captures is in some ways avoided because the society does not want to participate in this experience. And this is why the intellectual world, they're called elitists. They have to somehow bring a level of perceptions down to some, they degrade it. They degrade it. They don't want to make it important. But it is important because it involves a real commitment to not only your life but to the society. And people are not willing to commit. We're living in an age of non-commitment.
Yeah.
And going to a concert is a commitment. It is something that will take time. Sitting and listening to another person, you have to give yourself over to this person who's performing. You have to give some of your identity. And it requires some degree of work on your part to do so. And this is where, if you're an anxious person, you're afraid to do this. I think there's an anxiety. And one of the, if you talk about the culture that I represent, or the country that I represent, I often have said there's a disease that America has, and that is everyone wants to feel comfortable.
Yes.
And what does comfort do? It doesn't challenge you. You want to feel safe. You don't want to be made uncomfortable, but art makes you feel uncomfortable. A living experience of a Beethoven symphony is not a comforting experience.
It's not an entertaining
experience. It's not an
either.
entertainment.
Very
it doesn't.
important.
It is. You're faced with your reality. It is real reality, and it's not just entertainment. And this is why I think there's a real problem.
Do you think we can do something about it, Mr.
No, I don't. What you can do and what I can
As
do.
individuals, I mean.
You can only live your life and do your art, and hope for the best. You cannot alter the society or the direction of the society. I have neither the political will or the political strength to make that kind of difference. I can only deal with my immediate world. And my immediate world is the piano and whoever hears me.
Do you think it's a poisoned idea to use, I don't know, some I don't know, some new elements into a recital of music. It's just an idea in the air. So many people do this actually, using visual elements, using.
I think that
Does that help, or
the
does that
farthest we
poison
should
the?
go is to actually talk to the public and possibly introduce them to who you are as a person and what the music represents to the listener, and to give them to educate them on a human level, and make yourself more human to them. I think that is the best that we can do. I'm against the visual effects, basically because I listen to music with my eyes closed. So I'm not interested in visual effects at all. But that's me.
I actually do the same thing too.
Okay.
But
I mean, I want to concentrate on what I want to hear. I want to listen to every note. I want to feel every note. So to me, the visual is nothing but a distraction. So I disagree with that. If it's dance, that's another story.
But
that's
already
watching the music come alive in human form.
Yeah.
That's completely different.
Completely. Mr. Rose, I know you did tell us some funny story from your past experiences, like in Alaska.
Well, let me tell you.
But something comes to mind.
We all have parents, right?
Hopefully.
And I had prepared one of my early recitals at 6 years of age.
6?
6, yes. I was playing I was talented. What do you want me to say?
6.
So it's 6.
By the way,
it's
6.
Right. So I was in the back of the hall because that's where a dressing room was. And then the concert was to begin, and I was walking up the aisle to get to the piano from the back of the hall. All right, sometimes we do that.
Yes.
And I was walking up, and I see my father there. And then I get to my father, and he grabs me. And what does he do? He zips up my fly. The audience bursts out in total laughter. But you can't, at 6 years of age, you can't play a concert with your fly open, you know? So that was one of my funny earliest stories. So that memory is in my brain. I assure you, I have never walked out on stage without checking my fly ever since.
Mr. Ross, I have to share this on camera too. Have to do this. Now that it has passed, it has been 2 years since then, I can share this. This was my first visit to Japan. Actually, very interesting. My first concert in probably my favorite hall in the world, which is Muse Kawasaki. I think people know this by now. And it was my first recital over there. 2,000 people are filling the hall. It was a very, very special day for me. And I remember going on stage and realizing midway, I was looking down to see where I'm stepping, that my fly is open in front of 2,000 people. Of course, my job is to pretend. Nobody realized, only me. But that's the worst thing. Because with 6 years old, you do have a reason to have your fly open.
Well, as they say, accidents will happen.
Yes.
Well, you
It
had an accident just a few nights ago where you had a damper on the piano that wouldn't work.
That was
and you had a
completely new,
choice
yeah.
of continuing the concert, or, as I say, you were editing out the damper being not working and the tone continuing, but it was a marvelous concert.
Of course,
And
we have to do the concert.
You had to do the concert.
Yeah, we have a responsibility with the audience.
Yes, basically.
Yes.
So it was a very successful concert. You've played so many concerts already that you realize I do my best,
Yes.
no matter what. I do my
Things
best.
happen.
Things happen.
Outside of your control too. Things just happen. Yes.
Oh, the other funny story is
He does have plenty.
I won the Busoni competition, and I was in Bologna, and it was an outdoor concert in
Remind
Bologna.
us the year, Mr. Rose.
Oh God, let's not talk about the year. Let's not talk about the year. and I was playing Emperor Concerto, and the conductor conducted the Emperor Concerto with his left hand in his pocket, like this, and so I was deeply frustrated with this.
It reminds me of Richard Strauss checking his watch.
Okay, look, it's all right. And then I'm in the slow movement, and I'm hearing crinkling of a gummy bell, some gummy papers crinkling like this, and I'm in the middle of this beautiful slow movement.
In the Emperor, right?
In the Emperor Concerto.
Yeah, that's not a good.
So naturally, I hear the sound, and I look down, and as you know, very often the audience is very, very close to the piano.
Yeah.
So the guy took the gummy, looking at me, man. And I thought, this is why I practiced all my life. This is why I practiced all my life. I'll never forget. He took it out, looking at me, man.
He reminded me of another funny anecdote. This is a funny anecdote that come to our minds as he's sharing with me. I'm reminded of in Warsaw Philharmonic, I think it was last year or 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly which was the concert. I don't know even if it was a solo recital or it was a concerto with orchestra, but I do remember the face of a very specific person on the second row of Warsaw Philharmonic. And as I was playing, I heard this very funny snoring sound. It was very interesting. And he was so close to me, and he was a big man, let's put it this way. So the sounds that he was producing were pretty loud. And I just decided to look that direction, and as I was looking, someone woke this person up, and this person decided when he woke up that he needed to leave. He was in the second row of Warsaw Philharmonic. After snoring, he got up and he left.
Yes, yes.
And this was also my thought. I practiced for this.
Yeah, exactly. So much for the sacredness of music. Yes,
yes, he just left.
No, we all have. Everybody has stories.
My God. I just remember this
like
now.
this.
Yeah.
I remember it was Commissione. It was at Chautauqua. He was conducting the Great C Major Symphony, and somebody just coughed like it was heard all over the auditorium. And Commissione was conducting. And he took out a handkerchief and he held it up like this while he was conducting.
I hope it was a white handkerchief.
It was a white handkerchief. No, he held it. Use the damn handkerchief if you want to cough. Anyway.
My God. Anyway, Mr. Rose, fast questions.
Yes.
Do you have a favorite restaurant in the world?
Oh, yes.
I know he does.
I know.
He's the kind of man that will.
Any 5-star restaurant that I don't have to pay for.
So it's not the place, it's the experience.
I love 5-star restaurants that I don't have to pay for.
You don't remember any particularly wonderful experience in a restaurant? Maybe the time you shared with someone, if it comes to mind.
With my wife sitting across the room, you want me to share? No. Don't.
You can't say no, Mr. Rose.
Candlelight and wine, I say there were no other women in my life than before I met her.
That's good enough for me.
Okay.
That's good enough for me.
No. Restaurants. First of all, if you travel like you do, and you go to a city like London or Paris or New York, or I'm sure in Japan, the prices are outrageous. The food is never usually that good. And I'm unfortunately, as you do and as I do, I work too hard for my money to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a meal that I can eat so much better at home.
I think I have to bring him still.
Tonight, because the whole world will be watching this, tonight you're getting the best steak in the world.
That might be actually true. That might be actually true. The best culinary experiences in my life, I don't know what is the order, the top 5 or 10, but definitely Eating with Mr. Rose, his famous steak. I mean, there is nothing comparable to that.
Even the wine is going to be the best, okay? No. Traveling the world, and as you have, and as I certainly have, it is an incredible education.
Yes.
And you are so aware of the magnificence of civilizations and their varieties and how they interact and how people are universally, basically, wonderfully good, wonderfully civil, and human. And
that is the norm, actually.
That is the norm.
That is the norm.
Of course, I speak a few languages. You speak, of course, several languages as well, and the world of communication, and it's one of life's great experiences to know the world and to live within the world. I just text my daughter, who was traveling in London, and I said, "Look, the kids, they have to show their passports." I said, Franz Liszt, when he left Paris with the Comtesse d'Agout, he ends up in Switzerland. And they ask to write in the hotel, "What is your nationality?" And he writes, "Citoyen du monde."
Yeah.
And this is who he was. He was a citizen of the world. And this is why the touring artist is really so wonderfully exciting. Certainly at your age, because it's not a drain. You don't have a family saying, "When are you coming home? When are you coming home?"
There are other kinds of drains, to be honest with you.
There are other kinds of drains.
But still.
You once again, you are a man of curiosity.
Yes.
You are a man of experience, and you love. Let me just say, this gentleman that I'm sitting next to has one of the greatest gift of all, besides his talent, besides his knowledge, besides anything, as a performer. He loves his audience, and his audience loves him. This is something that is so unique, and this is one of the reasons why you are as successful as you are, because an audience wants a performer that loves them.
Even if I am uncomfortable with an audience, I cannot help but love them too, because I am playing for them after all, I cannot.
What you are able to do, which is also one of your great gifts, is your love of the music is being transmitted through your experience of expressing it. It's a simple phrase: you tell the story. And that's really what it's all about. You tell the story.
That's. I hope that is actually gonna be my life achievement. Mr. Rose, do you have a favorite country?
A favorite country? Well, I could say as a performer, the one that's paying me.
Personally, Mr. Rose, personally. Not to live in, but a country that
being Jewish, not very religious, but you don't have to be religious. It's like being Spanish. You don't have to be a practicing Catholic. Spanish means something, boom. And being Jewish, it means something, boom. I'm a Mediterranean. My favorite countries are all those countries that border the Mediterranean. And that's Spain, that's Italy, that's France, that's all the way over to Yugoslavia, Greece, and going all the way down. I even know Lebanon, Israel, all those countries. I love the history. I love the sensuality. I love the flavor of the Mediterranean, the sun of the Mediterranean, the smells of the Mediterranean, the food of the Mediterranean. Yes, these are my favorite countries. I am a Mediterranean. I also grew up in California because all these qualities exist on the coast
That
of
is
California.
true, actually. California, the Mediterranean,
Yeah,
and
all
some
this-
parts in Australia also
That's
have
true.
some
That's true. I've been to Perth. I've been to Brisbane. I've been
few
those are-
places,
yeah.
but still there
But
is
still,
some
but
of the
that,
flavor.
that flavor,
Yes.
that flavor of the sea, the sun, and the tropical foods, and there's nothing like it in the world. But it makes you. It's the reason to be alive. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay. You know, and the music that actually accompanies all of these wonderful lands. So I'm a Mediterranean heart.
That's good enough. I don't need a country. I need a region. That's good.
Okay.
Mr. Rose, one single pianist from the past that you could say that maybe it's your favorite.
Well, all right. I have to talk about a unique experience. As a student, we would occasionally or very often go to Carnegie Hall. So I was at a place called the Tiptoe Inn, and I was with my friend Michael Olbaum, who's a wonderful pianist, and we were having dinner. And we were looking at each other saying, Rubinstein's playing tonight. Let's try to go. So we got to Carnegie Hall, completely sold out, except for stage seats.
Ooh.
And I was no more than 6 feet away from him when he was playing. And what Rubinstein, being the great performer, he looks at his audience and he selects people who are like this, listening to him, listening. And these two guys, these two young guys, were there listening. And I'll never forget the moment he did the Fantasy-Stücke of Schumann im Abend. And he started, and the tone was magical. And I will never forget that experience of Rubinstein. But once again, I said, the great pianist strives for the transcendental moments. The greater pianist achieves them. And this man achieved the great transcendental. And he loved Carnegie Hall, and he loved the
Yeah, they
he
loved him.
He loved the acoustics. Yes, I was also in the hall at the return of Vladimir Horowitz to Carnegie Hall. Also one of the.
Were you in the hall,
I was
actually?
in the hall when he came back.
That is a historical moment. I didn't know that.
After 12 years, I was in the hall. Yes. So yes, I don't. You know, there are other great, of course, other great. Unfortunately, I was not alive to hear Rachmaninoff or Schnabel. I was not in Russia to hear Sofronitsky. I mean, there's so many great pianists
Of course.
that I was unable to hear. There were generational things. But you know, there are occasionally you find great performances of contemporary pianists. And but these are, there is a reason why they are legendary. And if you go back, yes, there's a reason. I was just recently in Horowitz. I said, listen, Vladimir Horowitz, he did not let a single note go by that did not fit into the meaning of the music. Whether you liked what he did, it didn't matter. The attention to detail, which is so important to great piano playing.
Yes.
So whether you like it or not doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It is something. Even some of the early Cortot, which is phenomenal. The preludes are a phenomenal performance of the early Cortot. You know, so what are we talking about? I was not in Paris at the time when Cortot came back. I mean, I know people that had studied with him, but he was also not quite the same pianist after the war. So it was different time. But yes, and of course there's the legendary performances. I mean, of Radu Lupu, of Brahms are some of the finest Brahms playing. There are the great performances, and
I have to say, and now that he said Radu Lupu, each time I'm speaking with a different guest, some different pianists or different transcendental moments come to my mind, and now a very special moment actually came to my mind, which was one of the last 2 or 3, I think it was his second to last concert, Radu Lupu's recital, before he became too sick to play, sadly, and he passed away not shortly afterwards, actually. And I was actually lucky to be present on such a special recital. As I said, second to last. It's very sad to think about it in retrospective. And he played in the auditorium of Madrid, the National Auditorium, and he played an all Schubert program. And I will never forget. I'm getting right now goosebumps. It was really a special moment, because you could feel that he was anticipating his own death in that concert, and he really didn't go beyond mezzo forte. The tone of the piano was sublime, but there was absolute no strength in the man, and the piano playing was so frail in his physical appearance, and in the result was frail, but you could see his I don't know how to call it, his soul, his will, his spirit was bigger than the bloody National Auditorium.
The spirit was greater than the sound itself.
I don't know. There was no words
Listen,
after that concert.
One of my greatest compliments that was ever paid to me, it was actually I did a student recital at Manus, and somebody said to me, "Jerry, you play as if you know the words." Isn't that a wonderful phrase?
That's just beautiful. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what you're saying, yes, it was mezzo forte, but he knew the words.
He definitely did.
Okay.
He didn't need to shout them.
Okay.
Absolutely.
The other thing, when I get angry with students, I said, kings don't need to shout.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it was a great pleasure speaking with you.
Thank you, Mr.
Don't
Rose.
edit to me and don't leave me on the cutting room floor, please.
Never. It's wonderful to hear every single word you said.
All right,
So.
it was a pleasure, and
Absolutely.
I'm hoping that when you become even more famous, that this interview will show who you were as a young, great artist. Yes.
I hope that his words can serve as I don't know, as a window into the personality or into the beliefs of. I think one of the greatest artists of last century and this century, which is the 21st. Huh? So, well, thank you everyone for watching, if you made it to the end. And, well, hope to see you in the next episode. We say goodbye from New York City.
Goodbye from New York City.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye.